your next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
A history-making choice.
I never thought that I would see a Black woman in that position.
America is crying out for leadership.
The first Black woman on a major party's presidential ticket.
She's going to have millions of people at her back, ready to punch, ready to fight, ready to defend her.
We will win.
A moment of pride and progress.
There are little Black and brown girls right now that can actually see someone that looks like them, that opens up space and possibilities for them.
I am incredibly honored by this responsibility, and I'm ready to get to work.
This is Black America Votes, the VP Choice, a BET News special.
I'm Michelle Miller, co-host of CBS This Morning Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a powerful show for you tonight. We'll be hearing from a cross-section of Black women who will offer their unique perspective on the history-making selection of Senator Kamala Harris as the Democratic vice presidential nominee. We will also hear from those who know Senator Harris well, from her days as an undergraduate at Howard University through her groundbreaking career as a district attorney, attorney general, and U.S. senator.
And we need to stand firm.
And now this daughter of Indian and Jamaican immigrants is poised to make history once again. But will Senator Harris's selection galvanize Black voters and help Democrats return to the White House? Who better to start off our program than someone who knows well the political power of Black women, California Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Representative Waters, thank you so much for joining us.
Delighted to be with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
You and I both can remember the first woman VP in history when she was named. That was way back in 1984. It was Geraldine Ferraro. Did you ever think you'd see this day?
I remember it well, what happened when she was chosen to be vice president. You know, it was kind of at the height of the women's movement, and there was so much discussion about it, so much anticipation. And of course, I was pleased, but I never thought that I would see a Black woman chosen to run with someone who was the nominee of the party. Vice President Biden has done that. I'm pleased about it. I think Black women in general are pleased about it, and we look forward to the campaign.
Some Black folks were troubled by Harris's career as a prosecutor and didn't support her run for president, but you say she's the perfect candidate for the VP job. Why?
I really do. I think she comes with all of the qualifications that are necessary to be in that position. Let us take a look at her career. She served as city attorney in the San Francisco area. She served as the attorney general for the state of California. She ran for office statewide. In doing that, you have to really be able to connect with all of the diversity of that state. And she was able to accomplish that. In addition to that, she ran for the United States Senate. And she won. And then she had the confidence to run for the presidency. Now, after she arrived in Washington, D.C., she distinguished herself on the Judiciary Committee in the way that she interrogated. She was absolutely stellar in her ability to do that.
Attorney General Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Could you repeat that question?
I'm referring to a specific subject, and the specific person I'm referring to is you.
Now, who was the conversation with? You said you had information.
That is not the subject of the question, sir.
The president, Donald Trump, he claims that Harris would be his #1 VP pick to run against. Do you really think he's looking forward to this challenge?
You cannot really pay attention to anything that this president has to say. This president, of course, has been absolutely deemed to be a liar, to be irresponsible, to be deceptive, to be deplorable. Whatever you can think of that's negative, that's him. So I pay no attention to anything that he has to say.
But have you spoken to her? Have you given her advice?
No, actually, she's a pro. She knows how to handle problems. She knows how to handle complaints confrontation, she's cool and she can handle it. And of course, she has learned over the years with the different positions that she's been in. Don't forget, it was unusual for an African-American woman to become Attorney General, even though we've aspired to higher offices, not in criminal justice. This has not been where we've been able to land. And so she chose to go in that direction, and she was successful at it. And so I am confident that she can deal with whatever comes at her.
What would be your message to voters, especially Black voters, as they assess the Biden-Harris ticket?
Well, the first thing that I must say, and I've been saying for years, is we must recognize our power and our potential by voting. We still are not voting our numbers and not being able to influence the decisions that are made in public policy. So we've got to get out and vote. I hear time and time again that people are disgusted with this president, the likes of which they've never seen before. Well, if that is true, vote so that you can change who's in the White House, but also remember all of the public policy that goes along with that. Don't forget that Obama gave us Obamacare, comprehensive medical care for everybody. This president is undermining that. Don't forget that we're trying to reform the police jurisdictions in this country. And this president is exacerbating the confrontations in the way that he talks about us being criminals, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got so much to vote for. So we've got to vote. First of all, be smart about your voting. There's a story about something that happened in the last election. We had people who voted absentee, and folks knocked on their doors and asked them for their ballots, and they gave them to them. We cannot allow that kind of thing to happen. We must not only protect our vote, if we're going to vote by mail, we must fill it out properly, and we must get it back on time. If we're going to go to the polls to vote, we must make sure that we get there before the polls close, understanding what time the polls will be operating. Make sure that whatever it is in your state that's required, and if ID is required, and I don't agree with that because I think that's voter suppression, take it with you anyway.
Some great advice, Congresswoman. Thank you for joining us.
Well, you're so welcome, and thank you. Good to be with you today.
I want to turn now to my next guest, my colleague, CBS News correspondent, Nicole Killian. Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Good to be with you, Michelle.
You've been on the 2020 campaign trail for the better part of a year now, and you've seen Senator Harris on the debate stage. You've seen her glad handling potential voters. When you watched the official announcement in Wilmington, what struck you?
Well, what struck me is that this shakes things up. I mean, when you look now at this presidential race, she is the only woman of color in this 2020 presidential campaign period, full stop. And, part of why former Vice President Joe Biden likely selected her is that she can hold her own. She brings, in the spirit of Shirley Chisholm, that unbought and unbossed attitude. We saw her very methodically tick off the reasons why Donald Trump and Mike Pence should not get reelected. She said the case was open and shut, and she listed all the reasons, whether it was the handling of the pandemic or the handling of the racial unrest in this country or the economic crisis that this country is currently facing. And so she laid out all of those arguments, and I think we will see much more from her on that front.
Nicole, you alluded to this a bit earlier and have said that Senator Harris is standing on the shoulders of giants, great women in politics, including Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to actually run for president. What about Chisholm do you see in the senator?
Well, I think what is so significant about this moment, I mean, obviously, Shirley Chisholm was a woman of many firsts, being the first Black woman elected to Congress and the first Black woman to run for president on a major party ticket. And certainly she has paved the path for many women of color and Black women, especially in politics. So certainly Kamala Harris is very cognizant of that and rides on those coattails. But I think what is very significant about this moment and why it is such a watershed moment, not only for Kamala Harris being the first Black woman, but also the first Asian American to be on a major party ticket, is that this is also a watershed moment for all of the women who have paved this path, both as politicians, but also for all those women working behind the scenes, whether it's a Donna Brazile or a Mignon Moore or a Leah Daughtry, who paved the paths for people like Simone Sanders, who is a senior advisor for the Biden campaign, or Corinne Jean-Pierre, who is now Harris's chief of staff. So that is why this moment is so important.
You mentioned Leah Daughtry. We'll be hearing a bit more from her later. Nicole, we know you'll be on the trail, so looking forward to seeing you there. And thank you for joining us now.
You bet.
Coming up.
I think she is a great choice because she is tried, tested, and true.
Close friends and colleagues offer insights into Senator Harris's true character.
Authentic. You know, what you see is what you get. She's the real deal.
And Senator Harris, in her own words, addresses her critics.
There has been a lot that has been distorted about my record. So let me be very clear. I committed my career to reforming the criminal justice system and to correcting those things that I was born knowing were wrong, were flawed, and harmed the community.
More of our BET News special, Black America Votes, the VP choice, in a moment.
We are here because the American dream and our American democracy are under attack and on the line like never before. America, we are better than this.
You're watching a BET News special, Black America Votes, the VP choice. I'm Michelle Miller. Joe Biden's decision to pick Kamala Harris as his running mate offered a powerful validation of the influence and importance of Black women in politics. Joining me to speak more about what Kamala Harris's selection means to America and Black women in particular is Brittany Cooper, an associate professor of women's and gender studies and Africana studies at Rutgers University. And also with me now is the Reverend Leah Daughtry. She is the former chief of staff of the Democratic Party and the former CEO of the Democratic National Conventions in 2008 and 2016. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Leah, you're a Democratic Party powerhouse. You worked on Hillary's 2016 campaign, and yet you've said that Harris's announcement quite literally shocked and moved you to tears. Why?
You know, I've actually worked on every Democratic presidential campaign since 1984 with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And so I've been involved in helping people run for president for a very long time, but it's still hearing the announcement of Kamala as I saw it roll across the ticker tape was just thrilling and really a validation of the work that many of us have been doing for so many years to swing the doors of the party open wider. But then I also thought about my youngest niece, who's 3 years old, my only niece, and what it will mean for her to wake up every day and see an African-American woman on television holding the office of vice president. And so I think it's a real placeholder for us. It's a star in the sky. It's a stellar moment and one that we should all be excited about, but not rest on. There's much more to do.
Brittany, Kamala is the first Black woman to run at the top of the ticket for a major political party. I should say Senator Harris. We feel so familiar with her. But what kind of unique expectations does that come with, if any at all?
I mean, she's also the first Howard University alumna. You know, I had to say that as a proud Howard grad.
HU,
you know.
You know.
So, look, you know, we have so many expectations of Kamala, but I think that we should give her the benefit of the doubt. This senator has a remarkable record of achievement as a politician, both from California, her state, and then also in the U.S. Congress. And so being first comes with lots of pressure, but she has already shown herself to be a fierce defender of our American values around democracy. I love to watch her grill people in Senate hearings. She's amazing at that. I think she will govern to the left. I think she will bring lots of hopes and dreams with her. And so I trust that she will represent us really well.
Leah, Black women aren't just embracing, as you noted, this just is a victory for Harris, but a victory for themselves. You especially understand this. You were an organizer of a group of some 700 Black women leaders who worked tirelessly to ensure that a Black woman was selected as the VP pick as part of the Win with the Black Women campaign. Is Harris's nomination a recognition of the growing political power of Black women in this party, the Democratic Party?
Yes, I think it is. But as we brought that group of women together, you're right, hundreds of us who signed on to a letter. But these were not just political women. These were Black women leaders from every sector in American society, business women, sports leaders, entertainers, you name it, who all wanted to come together to do what they could to ensure that an African-American woman was chosen to be the vice president. But more than that, the reason we chose Win with Black Women is because we know that we are the largest and most consistent voting bloc in the nation. And there are women running up and down the ballot, not simply at the top of the ticket, but there are record numbers of women running for the United States Congress. We now have a Democratic nominee in Tennessee for the Senate. And so we know Black women's voting power can make the difference, not only for Black women running, but for other Democrats, other folks running, period, whatever party across the nation. We can make the difference in South Carolina with Jamie Harrison, Raphael Warnock in Georgia, Marquita Bradshaw in Tennessee, Amy McGrath in Kentucky. We can be the difference. And so our slogan, Win with Black Women, was intended to speak to exactly that. Yes, we want the top of the ticket, but we can influence other races as well.
I guess you felt you needed to flex that muscle. Brittany, you've tweeted that Senator Harris did not run a campaign focusing on Black women voters as a core constituency. Does that need to change?
Of course. I think the Democratic Party knows where its bread is buttered, but I think that her victory here is a testament to the fact that Black women are the people that with whom you can win, as Reverend Daughtry has said. So look, I think that there are some ways that she can repair this, and I see her already working to do that. She came out on her first day talking about her own history of going to protest, and I think that was a signal to all of the young Black folks in the street who've been protesting over the summer that she's going to be committed to bringing the voice of folks who have felt disaffected by the system into the White House and to Joe Biden's attention. I think that she can become a champion for these policies that are about ending and reducing the reach of the carceral state, because she has a problem in that many young African Americans see her primarily as a prosecutor, and that has become a four-letter word in this political environment. And so she's going to have to become a champion for how to reduce the impact of carceral policies on Black people. But I think that she's committed to that work. And so I think that just shifting her focus and recognizing that she is there because of Black women's political moxie to make a demand that she be there means that hopefully she will have some loyalty to us in the way that she governs. And I think we are owed that. And I think that she is smart and politically astute, and she knows that.
Leah, Senator Harris has already contributed greatly to the legacy of Black women. But what does she need to move the needle even more so that you have more Black women in leadership positions?
You know, when I was being trained in the campaigns of Reverend Jesse Jackson, he used to tell us, when you get in the door, swing somebody else through, that is your responsibility. And that's certainly how I've governed my own career. And I think that's what her ethos is. Open the door wider, advocate for other people, determine who's not at the table. When you're at the table, what voices aren't there, whether they are from the queer community, whether they are from the Latino community, who's not at the table, make space for them and advocate for them to get to the table. And I think she's prepared to do that. We've seen that through her Senate career. We've seen that in her role as prosecutor, attorney general, and San Francisco's DA. And I'm confident that that's what she will continue to do as she continues this upward trajectory.
The Reverend Leah Daughtry and Brittany Cooper, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next.
She's going to have millions of people at her back, ready to punch, ready to fight, ready to defend her, because we know the kind of racist, sexist onslaught that she is going to face.
More of our BET News special, Black America Votes, the VP Choice, in a moment.